All right, young people, I'll be ready in three. Minutes, that is.
Good afternoon,
Hello.
Senator.
Hello, how are you?
Good, and you?
Wonderful. Good to see you. Good to see you. Um,
You.
you're up next. Do you want, before we get in, is there anything you want to discuss real quickly in a matter of a couple of minutes or talk about your budget for this year, or do you just want to go right into questions?
So you know what? It's a little bit, we're trying to adjust our volume, Senator. It's a little hard to hear you. Let me just see if we can fix that. Let me turn you up. Okay. All right, now we're good, I think.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, now we can hear you better. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for coming out this afternoon. What I was asking is there anything you want to go over real quickly in this conversation, or do you just want to jump right into the questions that some of my colleagues may have?
Actually, we're happy to jump right into questions. We have the team back from CTEX, so I'm sure there may be a variety of topics, and we've got all our district leaders on board to help answer. And no, we're happy to jump right in.
Okay. Well, I'll start off. I might have one or two questions, and I'll pass it on to my colleagues once I'm done. I'm looking at the career center at Vinyl Tech. Is is can you explain to me exactly what that is? And it seems like it's not just for Vinyl Tech; it's for the entire school district. Is that correct?
I missed the figure. I'm sorry.
The position at the Vinyl Tech school, is
Yes.
that, explain to me what that is, and is that position just for Vinyl Tech, or is it for the entire school district, that position?
Is that
That
a
career,
special education position,
no,
Senator?
no, it's the career center at Vinyl Tech, the career center.
Okay. Now I understand what, yes, that is to benefit the entire system. That position is actually going to be facilitating the connections between employers, students, and instructors, so that they don't have to go out and try to solicit information from 17 different school sites. So that's going to help us centralize making those business and industry partner connections so that our kids are getting hired right off the bat, right through the Career Center. So that will service the entire agency. Actually, it's already launched. It's just, the fine tuning still needs to happen, but that position is exactly centered on servicing the whole agency.
Okay. So it's pretty much a liaison between the private world and our public school students.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. The other question I have real quickly is I'm looking at your providing funding for the special education positions. It says that 31 of these positions are going to be funded through ESSER money, correct?
Correct. They are currently funded through ESSER money up until September 1. And
Right.
then they're going to hit our operating budget because ESSER disappears.
Yeah, and so my question is, how do you plan to prepare for them once the ESSER money runs out? 31 positions is a lot of positions. That's a large number of positions that you're gonna bring it on. Are you prepared for that in your budget going forward?
It's going to be a combination, Senator, of preparation that's already underway in the operating budget for CTEX, conversations that we're having with OPM about what that's going to look like, coupled with an allocation that we're very appreciative from the governor that was just made. We recognize it's conditional pending the closeout of this budget cycle and all that entails. But he did appropriate approximately $6.5 million to help us pick up those additional 31 positions that are currently funded under ESSER, because he knows that money is going to be going away fairly quickly. So it'll be a combination of our existing operating budget coupled with the governor's generous allocation.
What's the difference between the 31 special ed positions you have currently funded and the 34 you have for trade support? Explain to me what's the trade support, special ed
Sure.
trade.
The trade support piece has to do with the paraprofessionals that will be hired and placed in each classroom to support instructors in the trades.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And is that being funded through ESSER money, or it will be part of your general budget?
Both. Again, that will all be that will all be worked out with the OPM, but that will come out of both of those pots of money.
Okay, all right. I have no further questions. I will open it up to my colleagues who may have a question. Just throw a hand up, say something, or just yell out. Anyone have a question for the commissioner? Oh, they love you, Commissioner. Representative McCarty, no, go ahead, Representative McCarty.
Yeah, no, I'm just going through, there were not too many questions, but I just make a comment how pleased I am to see the work that's going on. I know we had a shortage in the world language teachers for quite a while, and if the commission would just like to address that for a moment. I know you're offering right now and you wrote down here, I think it's mostly in Spanish, if I'm not mistaken. Is there any thought about offering other world languages as well? And good luck finding the teachers, because I know it's a shortage area throughout the state. But if you'd just like to comment on that.
And we so appreciate your support, Representative. I know you and I have had past dialogue about this being a shortage area and where to go. But I have to say, and I believe this heart and soul, people who apply to CTEX for positions recognize that there is a uniqueness about what we're doing, in that we are a trade-based agency, also incorporating world language and academics into our total curriculum package for students. And there's a feeling that goes with that these world language teachers are going to have more of an experience helping students to hit the ground running with a bilingual. Our biliteracy certificate is the perfect example for that. And so the environment for them is one that is definitely productive and purposeful in terms of working with students. And so I'm sort of tooting our horn, but I guess this is my chance to do that on behalf of our programs. They really do enjoy working with our students here, working in a trade-based environment, and ensuring that when our kids graduate, they have the language skills necessary to go out and be productive in the workforce, wherever that may be. So that being said, when we hit that shortage mark, we and I applaud our HR people who are on today too. We had a phenomenal response to filling those positions, and as a result, that's sort of the breakout of the chart I think that you just referenced. We have been very fortunate. You're right, Spanish being the predominant offering, but we are also able to service Portuguese, Albanian, Bosnian, and others as well who are seeking that seal of biliteracy. So we're really proud of that. We have a very, very strong department head who hits the ground running and really beats the drum when we have a need. So all of that coupled with just watching our students be able to walk across that graduation stage with that seal of biliteracy and the gold medal that comes with it is really something. So yes, we're very proud of the program, and we're proud of the growth that we're showing.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And I send you all the best wishes, because it is exciting, and appreciate that response. I don't know exactly how to frame this, but as we looked at the tech schools over the years and with the shortage areas, if you'd like to just comment about how you think, and we're looking at certification and trying to use life experience, perhaps an expedite certification. Do you have any comments on that, and how do your teachers feel about that in the tech schools? I know there was some differences of opinion, but as we try to fill all the shortages, are you open to looking at certification process?
First and foremost, Representative McCarty, I can't thank you enough for the support that you're providing in terms of expediting that certification process. Because once that's really nailed down, we will have the issues that we had faced in the past around trying to fill difficult to fill instructor positions will become a thing of the past. And that is just huge. It's huge for our students, many of whom have sat for over a year waiting for a full-time instructor to take over in a classroom. We are showing great gains just because, again, we have now inherited a high-performing DAS team of HR people who have come in and helped us facilitate that certification process. Administrators are noticing it, teachers are noticing it, and most important, our students are noticing it. They're not waiting a half a year anymore for an instructor position. We've made great strides. But you just identified an area, I think, that needs more discussion and more focus, which is, are there equivalencies perhaps that we could take a look at in terms of instructor skill set that would certainly meet the needs in the classroom as an instructor, but may not fit the classic, right, paradigm of, I believe it's 8 years of prior experience, it's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a wonderful idea. I think the other piece that I know you're taking a look at now is expediting the certification process itself. So all of the time right now that may be taken up with, for example, not that it isn't important, it is, but there's a huge timeline needed for background checks through the state of Connecticut. It's important that it gets done, but we've talked with the Office of Certification around ways that maybe we can expedite that process, not shortchange it, certainly, but expedite it. They're already looking at their processes as well. So I think more of these conversations are productive and hugely helpful in terms of getting those instructors in the classrooms as quickly as we can. And so my thanks to you and all that you are doing with committee work along those lines. We really appreciate it. And our most important, our students so benefit with that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And then just a final, and I apologize, they're not really questions about the appropriation piece, but just looking and thank the tech schools for the entrance of all the special education students. I think that is so important to providing these students that are eligible with career pathways and how they're doing. Could you just tell me, and I think one of my colleagues was interested in this question, what can you talk about the transportation piece, how that works with the tech schools, with some of the sending these students that would have been in the sending districts? Just if you could clarify the transportation piece.
Absolutely. My understanding, and our special education director is online. I'm happy to turn to her for any details I omit or don't include in the answer. But right now, the transportation structure for CTEX is just what you outlined, which is this: because we accept students, both regular education and special education, from 169 different towns across the state of Connecticut, we rely on the sending district transportation, both to transport to and from CTEX for the day. What we take over then is all of those work-based learning assignments for students who go out on job sites during the day. And again, those students may be regular education and special education students. So that's the piece that we take hold of. We also do production site work, meaning we may have a customer who calls and says, gee, I would love to have your students build a house for me. So we send students out to do that. We transport those students on those infamous blue buses that you see, and everyone says, what's that? It's a CTEX bus taking students back and forth to a work site. And certainly we don't discriminate between special education and regular education students involved in those programs. So that's the piece that we carry in terms of transportation. But the sending districts bring students to school in the morning and then pick them up in the afternoon.
Right, okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have, if none, I have one last one. Commissioner, we talked about expanding opportunities for, young adults who have graduated from high school, who may want to transition back, or who never had opportunity to go to a tech school. Is there anything in this budget, I don't see, that can provide an opportunity to expand your operations a little further? Can you speak just briefly about that?
Absolutely, Senator. So we really have 4 different prongs to take a look at in terms of expansion of adult education programs. The first one is to take a look at the possibility of expanding existing school building sites. And you and I had a great conversation around taking a look at Cheney Tech, Prince Tech, Painter Tech, and Waterbury. Those would be some of the key sites that we can take a look at over time, to see if we can expand the square footage and the availability in buildings that exist. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be that CTEX hopefully will have the ability to go out to local school districts to find out if there are offerings that we could provide on the road, so to speak, because many of these schools, many of our high schools have existing shop spaces in them that were shuttered in the 80s around technology and tech labs. Why can't we unshutter them and begin to develop some after-school and evening programming for students 18 and beyond? Absolutely no reason why. The third prong that we're going to take a look at is with some of our existing business and industry partners. For example, Electric Boat, who just hired 14 of our students right out of Wyndham Tech last week. Why can't we bring more of those business and industry partners together with our adult ed population and start to create some internships, some apprenticeship opportunities, and other growth opportunities for our students? So those are just some of the ideas that we're really taking a serious look at to begin to expand that existing population, and what can we do for them in terms of services, particularly in our urban areas, because as you so well stated to me, there's a huge need. Oftentimes those students don't realize until 18, 19, 20 years old what they want to do and what they want to focus on. So we're excited about the challenges that presents, but we're also excited about the opportunities that presents.
Okay. Thank you very much. You'll be hearing from me about that. I've spoken to a couple of districts that have spoke publicly about getting the trades back in their schools. Because like you said, in the 80s, they all left when everybody was computerized. Everybody thought everyone needed to have a computer in front of them, and we lost our trades. And now we can't find people to do the work. So you'll be hearing from me about that. I appreciate you very much. So, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for mentioning Wyndham Tech. I was so thrilled that we had graduates going right into Electric Boat. It's a thrill to see that, and I just thought I'd add to the conversation a teeny bit, and that is back when we lost Quennebog Valley Community College. They were part-time at Wyndham Tech. Now they have their place back on Main Street. It was donated, and I'm thinking perhaps we could maybe have evening classes to also help out with the manufacturing pipeline in our area. And it's just a thought, and I didn't know if you had given some thought to that. I'm really pleased to see the great work that's been going on. We did have a connection with Electric Boat, and they did provide some manufacturing tools to Wyndham High, and I had originally planned to try and combine Wyndham High with Wyndham Tech and when we did the renovations at Wyndham High, but that didn't work out. So moving on from that, I just thought maybe having a dual shift might be something that we could take a look at. So thanks so much for your work and your presentation.
Thank you very much, Representative Johnson. Great to see you, and would be happy to reconnect with you. We have not taken a look at that. Quite honestly, we didn't know it existed. So at this point, we would need to reconnect with you. We'd love to do that at another time and take a look at what the possibilities would be. We have consultants that would be glad to go out, take a look, and see what the possibilities are for that. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll be looking forward to talking with you and having you out to the district. Thank you.
Great.
If Senator McCrory,
Yes,
can I ask one more quick
yes,
question?
absolutely.
So, now that we have you here, and excuse us, it's nice to be able to ask these questions. I noticed in all your positions, you had only one position for a school psychologist. Can you just tell it, how you work throughout the state with the tech schools? Do you have ample school psychologists? And, because we know in our schools, there's a lot of need for the behavioral supports and what we're doing these days. So I'm just curious as to where that person will be assigned, and do you have enough currently throughout your system?
So let me start with that part of the question first. Typically, I wish we could say we have ample school psychologist support. I think as many districts are experiencing, we're very fortunate to have the people we have. They're excellent, but we could always use more. The need is just growing. At this point, we are staffing our buildings with many school psychologists who come to us through a contract with CREC, which is the Hartford Resource Center for us. In addition to that, we try to staff at least one or two full-time school psychologists who belong to CTEX and are not under contract. So that's the position I believe that you're taking a look at. I don't have the information in front of me in terms of the assignment for that person, but often they're assigned to more than one building location if those buildings are close by, so we can utilize their talents to the maximum. So my educated guess would be that particular school psychologist would be serving us in a split capacity, if you will, in 2 or 3 building sites throughout the week. So the answer and the other answer in terms of level of staffing, we do the absolute best we can in terms of acquiring school psychologists through CREC to make sure that our students are serviced. Do we always have exactly the number we need? No, I wish we did. Maybe the day will come we will. But at the same time, we utilize those people in a variety of settings to meet the needs as best we can under those IEP requirements.
Thank you for that response.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, again, Commissioner, thank you very much for your presentation. I'll be in touch with you in the near future. You have a great day and a better tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Senator, and thank you, members of the Appropriations Committee. We greatly appreciate your time.
Up next, we're going to have TRD in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yes, they are in yet. Two o'clock. We're gonna be in touch with you. Yep. Now, there are a couple more people that they added, which is their name of PRB. It's renamed legislator. Is that someone?
Are they in, still? Are we ready? Then, okay. TRB.
Yes, welcome.
Helen,
Helen
hello, how are
Sullivan.
you?
Good.
How was your day? Helen, I'm looking at your report here. I don't have any, honestly, I really don't have any questions. Maybe some of my colleagues might have a question for you, but I don't have a question, but I do need your contact information. I have a question that has nothing to do with this conversation, but from a constituent around TRB. So afterwards, can you reach out to me and,
I- I
and
absolutely can.
I appreciate that. You guys, you have the floor if anyone has a question for Helen. You might get off easy.
No,
That's-
Senator McCrory, thank you.
Okay.
I had similar, just since we have Helen here, I thought maybe she would just give us a quick overview of how the board feels about all of the elections. Is that all in order now, the TRB elections? We have that right up in the budget and just want to be sure that everything is done appropriately.
Well, I know that the board is really not taking a position. That we did put in our legislative package to please line up the elections so that they all take place in July. That October election was somewhat of an outlier, so it is an administrative undertaking, even though we do have a vendor to have a July and October election. So we would like to coordinate the elections to be succinct in July moving forward.
Okay, good, thank you. And
You're welcome.
just on the governor's budget, providing the funding to be in compliance with the ADEC situation. So do you, how, I think the state is meeting its responsibility now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, there was a surplus and those funds are going in into the TRS.
okay. Well, that's it for me. It's not too much. Everything seems to be going accordingly. So thank you, Helen.
Yeah, we're quiet, but we're kind of behind the scenes getting things done. We're very low key.
Yep. Well, the one thought I did have, not totally related, but did you see a jump in retirement numbers within our teachers over the last couple of years, maybe with the pandemic and all that took place? Did we see a jump in retirement?
No, actually during COVID, our retirements decreased.
Okay.
We had a slight decrease in retirements over COVID. And off the cuff, we know that there was a lot of work-related issues. You know, spouses were getting laid off. You know, we had calls from teachers whose children were coming back into the household that had been out just because of the pandemic. So we had a slight drop during COVID, but we're on track. We average probably about 1,100 to 1,500 annually, the bulk of them being in July when the when the school year ends. So that is our busy season. And then we do have a small number that retire throughout the year.
Okay, but you haven't seen any really spikes either
No,
way.
no, we haven't had any spikes in our retirements, not at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, Helen, how can I reach out to you, or can you reach out to my office so I can just get this information from you? I can be reached at 240-0423. 0423. Yeah, 240-0423. Any other questions for Helen? Helen, you can go back to your class.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. We're well on our way. Thank you all very
Thank you.
much. Have a nice, great session. And if anything comes up, I will send you our contact information, Senator McCrory.
Okay.
Everybody have a great day and stay safe.
All right.
Take care.
You bet. Thank you.
We'll be back at 2 o'clock for Office of Early Childhood.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.
Entire community
Hello, Commissioner. How are you?
Hi, Representative. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for all the information that you supplied us with.
Sure. My guess is you're going to want more before we're done. So we're ready.
The more you know, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know.
That's so true.
Thank you.
So true.
You want to hear, Commissioner? Good seeing you this afternoon.
Hello, Senator.
We have before you a number of my colleagues, and if you would like to just say a few words before they go into questions, we can have one
Sure.
or two quick questions, and we can just move forward from there, okay?
Sure, Senator. Well, we've sent over information that answers some of your questions, but we're open to further questions, or if you want me to, go deeper into some of these because you didn't get sort of all the information that you needed, I'm happy to do that as well.
You know, what I'll probably do, because, we have about half an hour, I will just allow my colleagues to go into some of the questions they may have. I just have
Sure.
one off the top. I know we spoke a while back when we had the Blue Ribbon panel, and we talked about providing opportunities, finding opportunities to expand or create pilot programs around our early OEC programs. We wanted to do some work study type programs. So,
Yep.
are we still on board to do that? Do we have the resources to do that? Where are we with that type of programming that we talked about?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked about that, and we can send like a detailed explanation of where we are. I will tell you that last week I had the pleasure of attending a graduation at the Alliance in Bridgeport, where 15 newly minted early childhood assistant teachers graduated from the workforce pipeline programs. We had 8 initially workforce pipeline programs that tested out some approaches to getting additional staff. And then we refunded a number of those this year with some more structural supports. And then over the past 2 weeks, we've been meeting with them to move them into a formal apprenticeship program using the rest of the funds to fund some of those features of the apprenticeship. For example, childcare programs need help paying staff while they're getting their initial training and while they're not counting in ratios. We have funding available for coaches in the program so that good teachers in those programs can mentor them. So it's very much running, Senator McCrory. People are moving toward their child development associates. There are collaborations with the community colleges in some cases, and others we've really been needing to push pretty hard to get the classes that we need for these students. And some of the programs have had to go to alternate routes to CDA using online classes and then getting credits through Charter Oak. So there's some kinks in the system, but we'll probably have by the end of this year a couple hundred new early childhood professionals working in classrooms with all the early prerequisites.
Okay. My other question was in regards to the navigators. How many we have 360,000. How many positions will that be able to handle with that amount of money? And it's those and the number we have, I'm assuming they're statewide. These navigators will be statewide. Is that correct?
Yeah. Governor Lamont is really interested in helping residents that need healthcare navigate to the existing systems, cover Connecticut, the healthcare exchange, and in some cases, maybe helping, directors navigate to, other insurance companies to buy healthcare. So we're proposing 3 positions. We would likely contract this out to an organization that has experience helping people navigate to healthcare. But that's the idea. We heard during the Blue Ribbon panel that, only about a third of childcare providers have healthcare, and, they are working hard and deserving of healthcare, and many of them will qualify for existing programs, but they may not know that.
And the role of those navigators to help those childcare providers find, programs that are available for them.
Find and enroll, whatever supports they need, because there are clearly some barriers beyond just knowing about the program. So I think we'll learn a lot through this process.
Okay, I'm gonna close my mouth and I'm gonna allow, I see one hand up. Representative Walker, you're up next.
Thank you, sir, and thank you. Hi, Beth. It's good to see
Hi,
you.
Representative.
I'm gonna continue first with what Senator McCory was asking you about. Can you explain, is this the apprenticeship program? You're doing it with Charter Oak and you're doing it with other community colleges? Is that what the
We have a separate contract using ARPA funds with the community colleges to try to get more Spanish, for example, Spanish speaking CDA classes, more cohort classes. It's taking them a long time to get the instructors in place and move that along. I've met with President Chen, who's assured me he's going to work with us to move that faster. But because it's been hard to get those classes, a lot of the apprenticeship programs are purchasing sort of online trainings that can then be converted into credits, using some of the funding from the apprenticeship, because then you still have to pay for the credits and the transcript fee, et cetera, even if you get the training online.
So the money that we put in for the apprenticeship a couple of years ago, this is what you're using to pay for. I think you're using $6.5 million. The $5 million that we put in plus the 1.5 million, those are combined together to pay for for this program. Okay, so
and it's paying for, it's not necessarily, we also have scholarship money to pay for credits at times, so we try to leverage those funds first. A lot of these dollars are going to pay the trainees while they're in classes. So for 6 weeks, even before they can count in the classroom, they're taking classes. We're paying them $15 an hour during that period of time, because they're just barriers to people getting into the field. And then once they are ready to work in the classroom and can get paid, then those dollars can go to other apprenticeships in the pipeline. And it's also paying coaches, so in the program, and also administrators of the program are getting paid. So a lot of this is going to the operations of those programs more than credits.
So some of the people that are going to try who want to get their license and get certified, some of them have different types of schedules. And I know the apprenticeship program has pretty much a very defined requirement. I would like to know, what are we doing for the people who maybe cannot do it during those defined, but still have skills and have the ability to do it? Can we take like $1 million of that and put it over to to a little bit more flexible workforce type of program? Because there are some who've been in daycares, but we want them to get certified, but at the same time, they got to work. So I want to figure out, how do we make these flexible, and because of the fact that apprenticeship is very defined and we need a lot more flexibility within it.
Yes, we that's why we have not moved to apprenticeship formally yet. We're moving in that direction, but we have found that flexibility has been important. I will reach out to the director of that program and find out what we're doing for people who can't get that training during sort of work hours. Right now, it has mostly been people who need a job, they come in, they get trained, they get paid, and then they get a job in the program after they go through that program. But I'll ask about the off-hour situation and how can people who are working other jobs get it.
I'd like to help with that, because I'm getting a lot of conversations from other people, both in Hartford, New Haven, and Bridgeport, who want to do this, but they just don't fit in. So is the person you're talking to, are they part of OEC or are they part of DOL?
Well, we work with DOL, with Todd Birch of DOL, but the person I'm talking about is at OEC, our project manager for this, who has been working with the programs that applied.
Okay, I'd like to know.
Sure, we'll send you a summary.
Okay, now the other thing I was going to ask about is the Early Start program.
Yep.
Okay, so the early start program is, it's going to be school readiness, CDC, and Head Start.
Head Start state supplement, yes. Just a
Okay.
small, just a state funded Head Start, not a small
Oh,
portion of Head
So
Start.
all of these are going to be part of the early start program.
Yes.
Can I ask the reason why you wanted to put them into the one collective?
Sure. I just met with the Head Start directors today. Some of them have kids in single classrooms. They can have a single classroom with 3 different funding streams and have it meet all those different administrative roles. All great programs, all put together for good reason, all successful programs. We're talking about sort of taking the best of each of those. You know, we find that contracts are working better than grants because they can pay people on time and upfront and hold people to the contracts versus summer grants, summer contracts, some are a mix. So moving to a single system will mean that the programs have less reporting requirements and they don't have 3 different sets of rules. It'll be one set of rules. And also families are very confused about what do I qualify for? Can I go to a child daycare? Can I go to school readiness? Do I qualify for Head Start? It would just be state-funded early childhood. We're calling it Early Start Connecticut. We heard a lot about this in our public listening sessions, that it was confusing for families, an administrative burden on programs, and frankly, also an administrative burden on OEC to be running 3 different, you know, I can have one department with 4 people working on 4 different programs. So we've tried to align them, but there's really, I don't see any reason to keep them as separate programs anymore. We're just providing preschool and childcare for Connecticut children using state funds.
Could you just send the committee how many slots are in each one of them and what the total, so that we when we hear things are not, some people are not getting things, we need to know where they were and follow the dollars and stuff like that. So it would really be helpful to understand how you're doing that. And then the final one, my final question is about the waiting list. Yeah, you said that the waiting list is people are not going to be on the waiting list for as long as they were before. I think that's what you were talking about. But you said that they were going to be on a processing list.
What I would say, and I can have my folks chime in, what we're working on is reducing the backlog of applications to get people on the waiting list. So the waiting list right now is about 2 months. I think what I told you is that in the fall, because we had a drop off of people because school starts, camps ends, people go to kindergarten who were 4-year-olds and now they don't need childcare dollars anymore. We emptied the waiting list because we had the funds to do that. So when we did that, it created a backlog because we let so many people off so fast and had to process all that paperwork that we're still catching up for, you know, that went through September and October, getting all those people off. And now I think I said this at the last meeting, the waiting is just too long the waiting list is a waiting list, but the processing needs to go faster. And we've approved 14 more staff for United Way. We've approved overtime, weekend hours. This tends to happen with Care for Kids, where we get in a period, it always seems to be right around the start of the legislative session. We get in a backlog, but it's unacceptable.
Good timing.
I know.
But what I'm hearing is that they get taken off of the waiting list and they go into a process. But I'm sort of hearing that there's now a process list that they have to go through. So they got 2 months on a waiting list and now they're on a process list. How long is the process list? And I've heard from some people they're still waiting and they've been there for 6 months. So
I don't think 6 months, but it is at least 2 months. And longer in many cases. So I'm going to ask Julie to speak because I want to be really honest and clear with you about exactly where things are and what we're doing to address it with United Way.
Okay.
Hi, Representative Walker. Julie Giacone, CCDF Administrator. So it's kind of flipped. Applications come in to Care for
Yeah.
Kids and they're received. They're acknowledged that they're received. Then that's the time, that's that 1,300. They haven't been, the processing piece hasn't started yet. So
Mhm.
they're waiting to be touched to start that processing piece.
Okay.
What that looks like is it's a cursory to take a look to see, okay, which families automatically qualify for Care for Kids because they're in protective services or they're on TANF or it's a
Mhm.
teenage parent. They automatically get a certificate. They're found to be eligible. The remainder that qualify that have a job, they have an eligible activity, they're placed on a wait list. Those that they find that are over SMI, and it's usually about a 40% come in that are over SMI, they're sent a notification they're not eligible. Now, so that's a waiting period. That's a good 4 weeks between the time your application arrives at Care for Kids before you're either determined that you're automatically eligible under protective services, for example, or you're going to the wait list. Then when you're on the wait list is another 4 to 6, sometimes 8 weeks. Now, I will say that those families who have been waiting longer, oftentimes it is because there's missing information. And that's the piece that is really important, because once they come off the waiting list, they're immediately processed. They're looked, and if there is missing information, they send out a notification and say, okay, you're missing your parent provider agreement, or we're missing a paycheck stub, whatever it is that there's missing. And that's where we run into those longer timeframes for processing. But we're working with Care for Kids. They have increased the number of eligibility specialists that they have, and they are working to decrease that 1,300 backlog so that those incoming applications get processed faster. And essentially, then you would be on the wait list for a shorter period of time as well, if that makes sense. Does that help?
I unfortunately, it makes sense because I'm hearing like it does from the beginning of putting it in to the time where they connect with you could be as much as 6 months without a problem. And that really is concerning.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Agreed.
that people want to go to work and we want
Yes.
them to work. We want them to pay taxes. So I mean, the process has we're trying to do a lot for Care for Kids and for getting childcare, but what we're doing is we're putting parents who are in a holding pattern with a same problem that they had before. So it doesn't seem like we're moving the titles and everything like that, but we're not really processing and getting them to where they need to be, which is in a daycare and getting the services. So I would really like, maybe we'll talk about having a report that comes to the committee on a regular basis that tells us, because we're going to get inundated a lot, and we're starting to, because people are watching the hearings, and they're calling us. And
yeah, Representative, we'll get you the exact timeline right now, and we will send you, if you want, every 2 weeks during session, a report about where we are with the backlog, because we are watching it carefully and hiring staff, and I think you need to be up to date. We have to do better. That's what I said at the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a question? Representative McCarty.
Thank you. And I don't know, Commissioner, how we can answer this, but I'm concerned about we changed the starting age for kindergarten up until, to turn 5 by September 1st. And I was unaware, I did not realize, as we did that, and I think pedagogically that it was the right move, but I'm concerned. And in your answer, you point out that there could be as many as 2,700 children that would have no type of education. How did you derive that figure, and what do you, I hate to put you on the spot like this.
No, I can say it is Beth, what we call in the office, Beth by math. We have 35,000 children per cohort, right? So we know there are about 35,000 children per cohort. And we know a third of them will now not be eligible for kindergarten. So now you're at 10,000, and that's a low number, but a little more, but just say 10,000 because the math is easy on 10,000. And then we know that across Connecticut, 79% of children have access to preschool in some of the most recent data. But if you look at Alliance districts, it's 71% across Alliance districts, the average access to preschool. So what we know there is then 29% of those children, those 10,000, may not have access to anything because they weren't accessing preschool before and they're not accessing it now. So, it's just that math that gets you there. It's not an exact number, but last year when OEC expressed concern about this, it was about the children who would have no preschool for a whole other year leading up to that. Now, it is the law, and working, Governor Lamont has asked us to work hard to get out there and help parents know what's available. We know there are unused preschool spaces. You can see that in the laps in our ECE line. A lot of those are 3 and 4-year-olds who haven't come back to preschool. We haven't gotten back to the levels of 2019 still. So we're going to work hard to make those accessible. To Representative Walker's point about care for kids, we've got to get families in care for kids. So then preschool childcare will be more affordable. We're doing everything we can. I know in this budget, we asked to continue to fund the Smart Start classrooms that were one-time classrooms. That takes care of a number of preschoolers who wouldn't have access to anything as well. So we're doing everything we can to connect families with preschool spaces, but there are just parts of the state that don't have the supply. Many do. And also we're trying not to discourage private preschools from taking children at 2 years, 9 months, because we know that it's good to start preschool when kids are ready, and maybe they'll have 3 years of preschool. But so it creates a little bit of a backlog now that we're doing our best. I think I'll ask Elena to put it in the chat, but we just sent out statewide to all licensed programs advice for parents about how to find preschool, where to look for help, how to find Sparkler, get your child assessed, because this also means when it takes longer for children to get in the formal system, you're sometimes missing special education needs for a whole other year as well. So we're also trying to push parents into looking at all the resources that are available to them and our early learning and development standards. So we're going to continue to outreach to families to both connect them with programs, but also, just let them know what's happening. Because some parents still don't even know. I still find parents call me and say, wait, I didn't know this. But it's getting more attention now. So we're doing our best. It's the law right now. I know it's up to you all if you want to change that. Our job is to try to help as many families as we can find preschool, given the current situation. And I also know many superintendents are being very loose with this and saying, look, if you were planning on starting and your child's ready, you go ahead. And we also tell parents, advocate for your child if you think they're ready with the school district. So a lot of districts are being very liberal and basically saying if parents say they're ready to come and we do some kind of assessment that is, just to make sure they're somewhat ready, they're letting the kids in. And that's been my experience talking to early childhood educators in public schools. So I don't think it's going to be a full third. Maybe it'll be a fifth or a quarter. And that will ease the cliff that we're seeing.
Commissioner, I just wanted to add in that I don't have access to the chat, so we can definitely get that information over after the meeting.
Well, we can even forward the email perhaps to Sue Keen. We just sent it out to every licensed program in the state to get to all their families. So it's going out to 40,000 families today. Just another update to families to say this is what's happening. Here's information to help you.
That was great, Commissioner, because we don't use the chat so that we don't have inappropriate things going on in the chat. Sometimes members get a little.
It could make Capitol Report if you had a chat. I can see the screenshot.
Thank you for understanding.
I just sent it to you, Susan King.
All right. Anyone else have a question for the commissioner?
I may just ask, and it's not really a question, but just thinking ahead a little bit, and I appreciate what the office did with the stabilization grants that went out, and adding, I think this, in the budget, it's still using ARPA dollars, I believe, going forward in the next, in this proposal of 18.8 million. Has the department thinking, and we're looking to see, we know after the work that's been done that in order to improve the early child care system, we're going to need an influx of dollars. Can you just talk a little bit about how you see that going forward with filling that gap?
Well, it all depends how much is in the stabilization line item, and you can sort of see how many programs it touched and how much they got from what we sent over. But basically what we'll do is, the idea was to reach about 70% of licensed programs. Believe it or not, in Connecticut, when you get to the social vulnerability index of 0.6 and above, you get up above even 70% of programs. So we'll look for communities with some needs, which is 71% of childcare programs would be in those communities. And we would be looking to distribute grants. Like last time, we gave a little bit more if you had, say, an SVI of 0.8 for the higher need programs, a little bit more if you're serving infants and toddlers. We know those are more costly and we can't afford to lose any infant toddler spaces. And also we gave a bonus for programs that were accredited to try to, hold on to the higher quality programs, or Head Start, I should say, or Head Start approved. So it would be similar to that. Then there would be stabilization grants that went out. So it'd be proportional if you talk to the programs in your district to what they got, given that this is 18 million. In the past, we've sometimes had 40 million. I think we just sent out 30 million in September. So it'd be proportional based on the 18.8 million. But just there to help them fund their workers, keep the lights on while the rates come up. The rates are coming up 11% a year for Care for Kids, and this year they're going up 17% for preschool and school readiness.
Thank you. And then just a quick comment. Thank you for all the information on the Sparkler app.
Sure.
That was great to receive all of this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Commissioner B?
Senator, I had one other item I wanted to just mention because it was asked last time and I didn't have the data. And I believe we sent this along, and if not, Maggie will. But one of the concerns is we've requested, like, opening up Care for Kids up to 65% of the state median income, right, going up with the phase out at 75% of the state median income. So I asked our team to run an analysis to say, so we've gone from 50% of SMI to 60% of SMI, just to see how much of those dollars went to people above 50% of SMA. That is our families with slightly higher incomes, pushing out families who are lower income, because that's been a concern that Representative Walker expressed. So just to give you the data, in 2019, 98% of the children on Care for Kids were on less than 50% of the state median income. And I look at in 2024, it's still 98% of all the cases are below 50% of the state median income. That is to say, the program continues to serve predominantly families under 50% of SMI, even though it's opened up to 60% of SMI 2 years ago. So we're still finding that it hasn't shifted funds away from the lower income families to be serving families at 65% of SMI, which is still not, it's barely middle class in Connecticut. So I just wanted to share that data because a question was asked last time. And Maggie, did we send these sheets over, or is that something? Okay, so you did. All right, I just wanted to point that out because I know I had to do math to get there, and you just have the numbers in front of you as committee members.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none.
All right.
Commissioner, thanks for your presentation today. Look
Thanks,
forward to
everybody.
seeing what we can do in session. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you,
I-
everyone.
Thank
Nice
you,
job.
everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
Gonna go to sleep.
Good.
Me too.
Most of us don't even talk to us.
Yeah.